Bitcoin is not becoming eroded on you. It's kind of like this cushion for you to do what you really want to do in life and provide something beautiful that other people want that is truly true to who you are. Like there's so many Bitcoin artists that are making amazing things. There's even people who are, creating, special foods that they're making, or, you have the Bitcoin winemaker here in the US, right? And you're able to do something you love, and Bitcoin is giving you the ability to kind of do that versus like, oh, I really love making, wooden ornaments, but I can't do that because, I'm not making enough money yet. And I really need to work a full-time job and a part-time job. And I need to kind of day trade and become an investor and use my time there. And there's just not enough time to do what I really love. Bitcoin frees up that time. You gotta make that first buy, and you gotta continue to purchase and keep having that stack grow. Because like I always say, I'm collecting Bitcoin. It's, I don't plan on spending it I'm not spending it anytime soon. It's collecting. Like I am trying to gobble up as many sats as possible. Because there's a limited supply. I have this view that maybe 20, 30 years from now, I start to enjoy the benefits of the Bitcoin, just like I would enjoy the benefits of my retirement or savings. And
writing a description for this thing for the general audience is bloody hard. There's nothing to relate it to. Satoshi Nakamoto. Welcome back to What is Your Bitcoin Story podcast, where we dive into the unique journeys of Bitcoiners from all walks of life. I'm your host, Gigi, and today I'm excited to welcome a special guest, James Caruso. James is a dedicated Bitcoiner, vice president, and co-creator of Stampseed, the innovative solution for securing your seed phrase on titanium plates. Known for his hands-on approach and passion for swinging hammers, James merges old-school craftsmanship with cutting-edge Bitcoin security. Join us as we explore James's Bitcoin story, his thoughts on Bitcoin, and how he's helping others keep their Bitcoin safe one swing at a time. Welcome to the show, James.
Thanks, Gigi. Great seeing you again. We met back in Prague at the Bitcoin conference in June, and glad to be on the podcast. As I was saying before we went live, one of my favorite podcasts. I love hearing people's Bitcoin stories. It's great entertainment. And, hello to all the listeners, and, thanks for that intro, and, happy to be here, man.
Amazing. Likewise, thanks for taking the time. As we know, time is scarce, and there's a lot of things going on, but I'm always very appreciative of the guests of taking the time to jump on the show and share their stories. So I guess let's kick it off. Let's get right into it. So take us back to your beginnings, James. How did you discover Bitcoin? What was the start of your journey down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, this goes back to 2017 when I first heard about Bitcoin. That very first time when the price started going up towards the Q4 of 2017. At the time, I wasn't into Bitcoin. I wasn't into crypto. I was into stocks. That was the thing. And me and my buddies were over at the brewery here on Long Island having a couple brews, talking about stocks. And then somebody said, "You hear about Bitcoin?" And that's the first time I heard about it. And they were like, it's $16,000 a coin. And that obviously caught my attention. Price is kind of what gets a lot of us in originally. And I was one of those people. And, I didn't get in 2017, but it's kind of like that for first instance, into stocks, getting Robinhood, thinking I'm a day trader, trying to get rich quick. And I hear, oh, this Bitcoin thing is at $16,000 a coin. And I kind of connected that with a share. It's like, okay, that's pretty amazing. Didn't know something could get that high. I had no idea what Bitcoin was. No idea. Just the price was attractive. And I was like, oh, I can't afford one of those. So there's all these other coins out there. And, maybe like Bitcoin's MySpace and there's a Facebook out there. And I'm going to go find the Facebook. And, maybe that's in one of these other shit coins that's available. So I went down that path because, I was like, oh, I can get more of these, right? And at the time I was a very high time preference person. I was looking to, buy a house, get my wife an engagement ring, get a new car, get rich quick sort of mindset. And that's kind of where the whole Robinhood path kind of propelled that. And I was highly unsuccessful at it, lost money in the shit coins, was trading them for a few years after that and just kind of doing nothing but driving myself and my accountant crazy at the time because all of these trades were all over the place. And then slowly along the way, I realized you could buy parts of Bitcoin, you could buy your sats. So I started doing that, but I kind of put it in the same bucket of, just kind of not really long-term holding, not in self-custody, high time preference sort of person. So that's kind of like the precursor to my Bitcoin journey. You kind of set me up for it. So throughout 2019, I'm getting into Bitcoin a little bit more. I'm starting to siphon off all the other shit coins and then starting to dollar cost average into Bitcoin, but still didn't really fully understand it. I started listening to a few podcasts here and there, and wasn't really fully involved. And it wasn't until like late 20, probably like I don't know, like Q3 of 2019, where I started, where it took a turn, right? And this is kind of where stamp seed became a thing as well. So it's kind of an interesting merge of these two stories here. So I work still, but more at the time as a digital marketer, where I was running pay-per-click advertisements, very, very heavily involved into Google PPC, social media PPC, as well as Amazon PPC. And what I kind of cut my teeth on were search ads. So you bid on keywords that people are searching for, and your ads would show for the keywords where people are searching. And you have the ability to see, there's like a way to put a phrase of a keyword in. So say you're looking for Bitcoin hardware wallet, I could bid on the term hardware wallet, and then your term would come up. And I would see that you search Bitcoin hardware wallet, just in this example. But with one of the brands I was working with, we were advertising products on Amazon. It's a brand I still work for today. It's a company that says tools, metal stamping tools, but not for Bitcoin seed storage. So we were selling these things on Amazon and combing through the search terms is what I call it. You're just going through thousands of terms people are looking for, and things that started coming up with sales tied to them were things like Bitcoin seed plate, Bitcoin stamps, seed phrase metal plate, hammer for stamping seed. And we were noticing there were sales tied to products that we weren't selling, to anyone before. We never saw something like this come up. It started coming up, during 2019. So it's like, okay, I don't know what a seed word is. I don't know what the seed plate is, but I know what Bitcoin is. And like, what exactly is going on here? So I did a little bit of research, and it was like, okay, is this a wallet? Like, are people putting their Bitcoin in metal? It was kind of like crazy to me. I had no idea what it was. So looked into that a little bit further. I wanted to understand what this product was. I was very intrigued at this point because starting to get more into Bitcoin at the time, still kind of into shitcoins, but I knew what Bitcoin was, and I need to understand what this was. What were people doing with this, and why were they buying our product? So that led me to kind of researching what self-custody was for the brand to build out a product line. Like when you're going through your search terms, you're looking for ways to optimize your listings, right? So sometimes you would take the keywords that people are searching and implement them into your listing to just make it more optimal, make it more relevant to the search terms. So it comes up organically. But in this case, it's a whole new product line that where my mind was kind of going. So studying self-custody, that leads you down a whole rabbit hole. Like, why do I have to take self-custody, right? Why is this important? And then you start asking yourselves these questions, and basically force myself to research, what self-custody is. And then that led to, down the rabbit hole, like I was saying before. And basically what happened there was created a listing with existing products that we had that were tailored to Bitcoiners that were looking for a seed for a store. So they didn't have to kind of piecemeal all these little things together. We built the kit that wasn't under, the stamp seed name. It was just, it was under Impress Seed or something like that. And we were selling them on Amazon only.
But this was like a separate branch of the company, or it was all under the one umbrella of the existing company?
So this was a separate branch of the company.
Okay.
Basically, it was a totally different product, totally different brand and product line. Using the tools that we had from another brand, we're repurposing them, rebranding them, packaging them for a totally different customer demographic. However, but I guess kind of like where that story converges, like now I'm like into Bitcoin at a totally different level. And it's basically because of the research that I wanted to do to be able to optimize the campaigns, but then create a new brand within it. And that led me obviously down the whole Bitcoin rabbit hole of constantly, once you're in, you're in. It starts to change. It starts to change you a little bit.
Sorry for interrupting, but I was going to say the door closes behind you. There's no going out of it.
No, you can't unsee it. And, it's because, Bitcoin is not something that the goalposts are going to move on you with, right? The rules aren't going to change. So you kind of create this foundation that you launch off into. And, I became a Bitcoiner. I consider myself that, and then Stampseed became a brand too, and they both pretty much
Hmm.
happened in the same time. The correlation is very tight on that, and it still is today. But it was kind of an interesting path going from the brewery, slamming a couple of beers, talking about day trading stocks and shit coins, to becoming a low time preference individual who is committed to Bitcoin, who looks at it as savings, not as something that I'm trading. It's something I'm holding long term. And to be
Yeah.
able to evolve to that level through the development of the brand Stampseed, a product that is, an extreme form of cold storage. If you have one of those, you're in. You're stamping your words into titanium. You're not looking to move things anytime soon. And that in a nutshell is kind of that journey. It's kind of unique, and I was kind of going down that path of learning Bitcoin more, understanding what it was, but I think it kind of got hypercharged in 2020 due to the development
Hmm.
of Stampseed. It kind of forced me to learn more. I couldn't sell a product that I didn't fully understand. I need to understand who was buying this product. Would people need more than one plate? Why would they need more than one plate? That leads you to trying to understand what multi-sig setup is, why wallet diversification is good as well. All those different things there. So that's pretty much the story in a nutshell.
Amazing. Well, I love it. I think this is probably the first What's Your Bitcoin Story episode story from a guest where their journey down the rabbit hole came through developing a product for this space and learning more of it as they go forward. And it's awesome. There's no better way to learn something. As you said, James, you can't really start a brand and a product without knowing that industry niche and what the customers want. So it was kind of a no-brainer to jump in, and what a product to go for. I mean, uh, I have a question lined up, which I'd like you to answer it, and that would be kind of, why do you think physical backup solutions like Stampseed are so crucial in the modern digital age?
Well, if you're in self custody, right, you don't your seed word backups is everything, right? If you lose your
Yeah.
electronic device, your keys are stored on there. If you don't have a proper backup and that gets wrecked, you're out of luck. Your funds are never going to be recovered. It'll be impossible to figure out what those seed words are by guessing. In digital age, you don't want to be storing these words on a device, in the cloud, on your phone, as a screenshot that you save in your photos. All of these
Mm.
things are bad. It's a good way to lose all your Bitcoin, get hacked. Um, you're susceptible to a lot of those issues right there. And what we prefer to do is, it's kind of interesting because it's such like a low tech um, scenario here. You're taking little metal stamps and you're
Yeah.
hammering them one by one into titanium. It's like, what am I, a blacksmith? Like, what's going on here? I got into Bitcoin and now I have a hammer, I have a stamp, and I have this titanium seed plate that I'm looking to hide. But it is, if you want to harness the full power of Bitcoin, take self custody, hold your keys, make sure no one else has access to them. They're not held in Coinbase, which is big in the states here. They're not. I mean, there's other ways you could obviously do multi-sig too and whatnot, but more it's three. You buy three plates and you have three different wallets, where you're backing those up. But
Yeah.
having a hard backup is important for holding hard money, the most sound money there is. And if you want full access and control over that, there's a little level of responsibility there where you know you have to take on, because nobody's going to come to help you out. Like when you get locked out of your email, you call up. Not even call. Gmail helps you out with
Yeah.
authenticating who you are, sends you a code, and you set a new password. You can't do that in Bitcoin. You can't do that with your hardware wallets. At least I don't think. No. And you're in full control at that point. So if you have it on paper, what if something happens to the paper? What if house fire is a big one that people are in fear of?
Yeah.
That burns, your hardware wallet gets burnt, your paper gets burnt, and you're done. Water damage is another issue. Your house gets flooded. You write your words on a piece of paper with a pen that's a little like jelly or inky, and the humidity
Mm.
smudges everything. And it's time proof too. I like to say, like, you're looking to hold
Yeah.
Bitcoin, at least me, for 20, 30 years before I'm actually using it. And that's kind of due to living in New York. There's not a lot of easy ways to spend Bitcoin fast, but I invest in Bitcoin as a method of savings. It is the best savings vehicle on the planet, so that's how I use it. So having something like that stored on paper that could be accidentally thrown out, or any of those other issues that I just mentioned, uh, doesn't make sense. I want to have a hard backup that is representative of what I'm saving, and if I'm taking self custody, to make sure that that backup is stamped into something that is virtually indestructible. And that's something a lot of Bitcoiners, feel the same way with. And there's a lot of different solutions out there that are metal. I like ours the best because it's one solid piece. There's no loose pieces at all, and it's small form factor, like the size of a Post-it, except it's
Yeah.
commercial grade titanium. So, hard money, stamp it into a hard metal.
No, amazing. And just to add to that, I mean, even if you don't have like a natural catastrophe, a flood or a fire, imagine keeping your seed phrase on a piece of paper and that ink after 20, 30 years might just fade away, even if you keep it in a safe. So it's not the smartest way to keep something on paper where we know it doesn't age well. And Bitcoin's not something that you keep for a month, a year, but definitely for generations if you're smart about it. So I definitely agree with those points, James, and I love your product. I still don't have it yet, but I will do in the near future because I'll be fully transparent. My seed phrases are on pieces of card, which is not the smartest move, but still that's better than keeping them on an exchange and keeping it non self custodial. But definitely, thinking about the longevity and the future proofing of your Bitcoin is something super important. So definitely to all the listeners that are listening, this is something you should definitely consider if you take your Bitcoin self-custody serious. You should definitely be stamping your seeds into metal plates, may that be stamp seed or anything else. I mean, if you want, you can go full DIY and get some aluminium plate. But if you want to do it in style, then Stamp Seed has a whole kit where you place it in. I saw it firsthand, and I banked in the you even have the Bitcoin logo, which that's another reason I want to get the kit for. I want to stamp some fiat coins with with the
Yeah.
Bitcoin signs and kind of. I saw that's a growing trend on Twitter or X.
Yeah, no, it's it is a good way to kind of orange pill the next person who gets your change after you buy your cup of coffee, right? And I know
Yeah,
I saw who's it Rockstar in Prague, and he was stamping the
yeah,
bills with the red ink, and that was like his business card. He was saying, and it was pretty
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
And I was like, "This
With the
is this."
Zimbabwe dollars.
Yeah, and no, I think he was actually doing some on USD
Oh,
with the
USD, yeah,
yeah,
$1. Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
maybe is on the same path. So but yeah, no, the Bitcoin logo is awesome. You can stamp it into coins, and we even had somebody stamp it into their leather watch band, and it's pretty cool. But yeah,
Wow.
doing coins is cool because it's maybe more permanent. Won't get washed away, just like that ink can get washed away on that dollar. Get
Hmm.
smudged while it's in your wallet. The Bitcoin logo is stamped into a copper penny or something like that. That's not going anywhere, and it's funny to think of. The reaction of a no coiner or somebody who's like new into Bitcoin or into crypto, like, whoa, look at this! I just got a Bitcoin logo. It's kind of a way, to to spread the word.
Softly orange pill them by curiosity, like, oh, what's this on the 50 pence? Oh, it's a Bitcoin. I wonder how this came here.
Yeah, I think they would maybe think it's funny and snap a picture of it or show somebody, oh, look how funny this is, and it's a good way to we are all employees of Bitcoin, and
Yeah,
that is a marketing device for Bitcoin that it's pretty cool. We're able to kind of get it out there, and it's really popular. People love that thing. We had them in Nashville, and we were just giving them out as kind of like a prize for stopping by the booth and. There's a lot of people that have them
nice.
now, I'm sure. So I'm waiting for the day where I see one of those come across from a
It's
cashier.
your own hands.
Exactly.
Amazing, amazing. So I guess with Stamp Seed, so since we're talking now on Stamp Seed, is there like I guess it's hard to innovate a product that's so kind of timeless, right? Like unless of course you have like these special plates that come out, and I think just yesterday you had the new special limited edition plate by the Infinity over 21. Since actually didn't congratulate you, James. Happy Bitcoin Infinity Day that
Yes,
just passed
you
24 hours
you
ago.
too, you too.
It's unfortunately I was supposed to be in Riga with Uncle Rockstar and Knut and all the guys, but I couldn't make it. I did though give myself a little gift. I stamped the Infinity over 21 on my arm, which you probably saw on the on X.
I
So
did, I
so it was
did.
an eventful day. But yeah, going to the plate, that was awesome. Like I like that you put like you can have these limited edition collectors ones, because once your customers get the kit and are familiar with it, there's always something nice to return to and support the company, and I guess these collectors plates will be something of a priceless item in the future as well.
Yeah, the designer plates are pretty popular, and we do some collaborations with artists or authors, like the one that you just mentioned with Canute, and
Yeah.
we have some that we created in house. And when we go to conferences, we make limited ones for conferences that you can only get 21 of, and I think it's a cool. Basically, one side of the plate has your words, the other side is completely blank. It's just
Mm.
canvas where we could etch anything into, and I think it comes from the idea that people are holding something physical now. Bitcoin is kind of like this thing that you can't hold, but now you have this hard seat plate, you can hold it, and you might want to decorate it with something to make it a little bit more unique, to personalize it, make it a little bit more you. Now that's a way for people to buy like multiple plates, and I think that's kind of how you led into this, right? Like how you,
Yeah.
uh, you know, how do we get somebody to need another seat plate or whatever? But I see that happening a lot, and there's multi-sig, right? And I think anyone with serious funds that I think pretty much everyone should have a self custody wallet that's like deep cold storage, and then should have some multi-sig set up if
Yeah.
it makes sense for it, right? And with that, you're going to have the need for multiple plates. Like you might need 6 plates for the one self custody and then a 3 or 5 multi sig. So you have that, and then you have things like wallets.
Mm.
Hardware wallets are constantly changing, and I'm kind of like that tech nerd that always wants the latest ones. Not only that, but there's a lot of advancements with these wallets. You go from simple toggle switches that are a pain to record your seed words with, or through the wallet during setup, to now full QWERTY keyboards, color screens, and things like that. And for me, in those instances, like when I first had a hardware wallet, I had a ledger, and I hooked it up to
Me
my
too. You're
yeah.
not the only one.
Yeah, no, that's I'm sure that's a lot of us, right? They're the big dogs in terms of sales, probably. But so I had a ledger, and I hooked it up while it was plugged into my computer. It was an air gap, and
Mm.
it's hard to sleep at night knowing, okay, I'm in self custody, but there's that slight chance that those were some malware on my computer, or
Yeah.
I'm not much of a computer science person, so I don't really know if there's any other risks there, but it was enough to make me say, okay, why do I want that set of seed words now? I have a new wallet, I have a cold card, I'm moving everything into the cold card. I need new seed words now. The old seed words I have are no good. Maybe it's good to keep like a little bit on there and have, not all your eggs in one basket, but moving
Mm.
everything over to a different wallet, new seed words are needed in that scenario. And wallets don't last forever either. The devices, I don't know, the chips in them could go bad over time. The electronics on some of these cheaper ones aren't going to last like more than 10 years probably. So in these
Yeah.
scenarios, it's always good to upgrade those seed words. And what's good is we set up the stamp seed kit where you get everything in it. You get all your tools, your hammer, your stamping jig, anvil, your letters, and you get one plate. And really the like what you're spending your money on are those tools. Like those are, you're not throwing those tools out afterwards either. You're holding onto them, and then when you need a new plate because you have a new wallet, or you want to then move into a multi-sig, or you have a Trezor and you want to do Shamir secret sharing, and you want to start out with like 5 shares, then you're going to move up to 7 shares a couple of years later, and then
Mm.
in 10 years you're going to go to 16 shares, which you could do with those. You're always going to have a need to break open that kit from your sort of toolbox, or your hidden somewhere in your closet, and set up the new wallet, add the extra share to Shamir, do multi-sig. A friend who you've been trying to orange pill and get into Bitcoin is finally in it, and he's ready to go into self custody, and you're like, okay, you're a little bit behind now. Your average is a little tall, so save some sats. I'll borrow my stamping kit and just
Yeah,
go buy one plate from, Stampseed and load it in and, stamp away, do it in privacy and you're good to go. So there's always like, to me, always going to be a reason to upgrade. And I'm the type of person that if I have a new wallet, I kind of like updating the words in that scenario too. It's just a good way to refresh things and keep them updated, just like you would update, I don't know, like your email or Facebook or X password, which is
of course.
more insecure. But yeah, so those are kind of some reasons to do it. And of course, the designer plates are a different sort of thing. Some people are stamping on them. Some people are leaving them sealed and collecting these things. We have this one guy who came. He was the first person in our booth at Prague at the conference. He was there before we were
The
there.
biggest fan.
Yeah, he was
You were
there.
still
Yeah, we were setting up, and he was like, "Hey guys, I remember who he was too." And he was just like, "Oh, do you have the plate?" I was like, "Yeah, you're the first one to get the plate." And he posted the picture on X. He kind of has all of them, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's a cool way to collect, and I think it's kind of like there's a lot of collector mentality that crosses over with the Bitcoin demographic, and then scarcity is something there too. And if we only make 21 of them, or we have it sold out, it's out forever of these limiteds, and we keep them on the website, and it'll say like retired on one of them, and they're not coming back around.
Of course. By the way, personal question: is the Prague one fully sold out?
Yes, the Prague one is sold out. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking about it now, collectors, since that's the actual place where we physically met, I should have bought it on the day, but at the conference, like my head was everywhere. There was so many things happening and it wasn't but definitely from the future ones, I'll definitely be collecting them because it's a nice way to kind of, have some memorabilia. Stickers are fun and all, but stickers are just stickers, but having an actual plate and then actually putting the use to it, as you said, when you're upgrading to the new wallet and stamping it in, I think it's an awesome way, an item that's a collectible and kind of your personal vault. It's a win-win in my eyes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's funny. My dad, we did a collab with Bitcoin cartoons. I don't know if you know Steve from there, but he does like
No.
almost like political cartoons that have a message behind
Okay.
them, and he does a really nice job. And he did the "Don't Tread on Me" one, which is like big in the States. I don't know if you know the "Don't Tread on Me" flag with the yellow flag with the snake on it.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he has one where the snake's like a Bitcoin logo, and my dad was like, "My dad's like, that's awesome. Buy me one of those. Bring it over. I'll give you the money for it."
Nice.
And he wanted it like nailed in his garage with all his. He like collects signs and advertising signs and things
Nice.
like that. But for anyone who's like, "Oh, what do I need the designer plate for? Why would I want something like that?" We're going to be offering soon customization where you could actually put whatever you want on these things.
Oh,
And
nice.
we're going to have I think we showed them in Prague too. You might have seen the cover plates too that'll cover
Yeah.
up the front with titanium covers and titanium security screws. And you're going to be able to customize that too. So you could add something that maybe hides the plate a little bit better or makes it look like a piece of art that's non-discrete or like a little scenery and, kind of hide it
That's
in
awesome.
plain sight a little bit more if you want to do something like that. If you don't want something that has a Bitcoin logo on it, right? So you'll be able to do that too, which is cool. And if you're doing some sort of multi-sig setup or some sort of inheritance planning, everyone could have a design that maybe has some sort of hint in it or something like that.
Nice. So maybe in the future we'll get a "What's Your Bitcoin Story" logo, the stamp seed plate.
Yeah.
That'll be a nice part of the multi-sig setup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We could do that. We could do that easy for you. We'll give you one of those, as being a fan of the show.
Perfect. So I guess, James, I wanted to ask you, since your kind of journey started then in the late 2019 and 2020, there's been so many changes and developments in Bitcoin. And I want to ask you, like, personally, what are you most excited about kind of what's happening in Bitcoin today, with so much having been changed in the last 4 years? Apart from politicians adopting it, because that we got on the topic of that, that's kind of changing the scene. But apart from that, what are some kind of latest developments that you're excited about seeing in the space?
I mean, I don't know if it's like a late development. Lightning, obviously, that's something. It's exciting, right? It's making Bitcoin a little bit more accessible to people who might have thought fees are too high, or don't want to use it for buying cups of coffee, who do want to go on chain for buying cups of coffee, want to use Lightning. It kind of, but it still needs a little bit of work, and it's not
Oh
full.
yeah.
It's a little bit centralized where now no one's actually like using Lightning, like actually using Lightning. They're running someone else's on someone else's node, so it's kind of centralized. So it'd be cool to see that be further developed and break out and become something that's more widely used. Like maybe Apple integrates Lightning into their next phone or next upgrade. So making Bitcoin payments a little bit more accessible, easy to use, but also doing it in a decentralized manner. And then Noster is pretty exciting too.
Oh yeah.
I'm just getting into that now. And I recently learned, I don't know if it was maybe from listening to your podcast, but was it? No, it was I think it was a different one. But you could actually be like, I think the way it works is like there's Lightning integrated into Noster, and
Yeah.
if whatever gets the most likes or the most zaps is receiving sats. So you're instead of what you see on social media, like Instagram or wherever, where there's
Just simple likes.
these bot issues even where things are just getting served out to people because there's bot interference or manipulation of the algorithm for likes. Now, if you're putting money behind it, there's more truth to that, like where it's almost like a Reddit upvote in a way, but with money behind it.
Yeah.
So really excited to see how Nostr develops, but I just don't know how fast something like that would, or if it would ever become sort of this mainstream thing. Like, truth is, like most people are extremely lazy and not tech savvy, and will probably keep their like legacy social media. But it's something I'm excited about that I'm going to be cracking into soon. Make one for myself, make one for Stampseed, and it seems to be, if you're into Bitcoin, that seems to be the next place to be. X is great. It's where you're going to get your news very fast, but it's nice to know there's a place where freedom of speech is, going to fully prevail. There's going to be no interference on something like that. The way Noster is set up, that seems to be impossible to get your stuff taken down, your content manipulated or taken down. And yeah, I think those are
by yourself or anyone else, which is like a double-edged sword. Just like yesterday, I sent a note on Noster and there was a spelling mistake, and I'm like, I can't edit it, I can't delete it, like it's there forever. But
yeah.
it's similar to kind of talking about the seed phrases. Like if you lose your seed phrase, there's no like reset password. Like Bitcoin really gives you this kind of self-responsibility back, which I think a lot of people have been kind of molded into just being comfort creatures and giving that responsibility away. May that be, my money's in a bank, like the bank will take care of it. Education, like the educational department, the teachers will take care of that. Like you don't really have that self, kind of not dependence, but kind of what's the word? Like self accountability in a sense, right? And the same thing goes with Noster. I've been a big fan. I got onto Noster like a year ago. I think it was last September. And then, I sent out a few notes and that was pretty much it. And then in BTC Prague, where we met, that was actually the first conference that Noster had a booth. And I don't know if you know, but the community basically, it was a crowd-funded booth. So all the Noster Nostriches, as we call each other, donated money to have the booth at BTC Prague to kind of further get people into it, and spending time there and speaking to the guys and actually setting up my Noster on Primal client, because for those listeners who are unaware and are kind of scratching their heads, what is GJ and James talking about? So Noster is a protocol, just like Bitcoin's a protocol. And then you have different clients on top of it. May that be Damas, Amethyst, Primal. There's, I think, over like 50 by today, different clients where you just type in your NSEC, so your security phrase, and you get full access to all of your notes basically being posts, and all the people that you're following and vice versa, not matter which client you're on. And I think that's a beautiful thing, that if you get banned or let's say censored on a single client, you can just hop onto another client, put in your NSEC, and you've got all of your access there, which is very powerful stuff, especially where we see today around the world. And I'm sure you've seen, James, what's happening in the UK by like, people really, going to jail, and like it's insane, like
Insane.
getting fines for sharing your thoughts. Like it's chilling. Like I'm getting goosebumps as I speak this. Like how can you not express? Listen, you can't express yourself in public. You cannot express yourself online, and then the fact that you can go to jail for it. It's wow. What times we live in. So
Insane. It's the level of control is like everyone says 1984, right? Like,
yeah,
and like, who are you to know that I posted that from my social media? Like, what
true.
other things, like, they're going to look at your VPN, or are they going to be like, oh, you were connected to your phone at the time? Like, how are they going to know it was you for sure that was doing something like that? But it's insane. Like you said, I mean, and Noster is freedom, the ultimate like social media platform for freedom of speech at that high level.
Mm,
Like, right, like you could reach anyone in the world, anyone that's connected with Noster, and you're up, and you're not going to be censored, taken down with something like Vex. That could certainly happen. And we like Bitcoin because it's freedom money.
yeah.
And Noster is something that harnesses freedom of speech at that very high level. That has a huge impact. And for something like Bitcoin, it's great that it's proliferating on there, because if that sort of dystopian future that we're heading to, that we're even seeing in a place like UK continues, and
Mm,
if Bitcoin becomes targeted, which we're seeing, right, with the samurai
yeah.
takedown, freedom of speech is at
Oh yeah.
risk, and to have something like Noster as a platform to be on, to learn everything you need to learn about Bitcoin, to get that education and high signal for anyone who still that needs it now, needs it tomorrow, needs it to arch for themselves. It's great to know that something like that's there. It's like the last, vestige for freedom of speech. So I'm a little late to Noster. It's been out for like 3, 4
Oh
years
no!
now, something like
Well,
that.
3 years. It's
3 years,
I
yeah.
think close to 4 years. You're not too late, James. We are still early into Bitcoin, let alone early into Noster.
Yeah,
So we're like in the embryo stage with the Noster and
sure.
and Bitcoin. We're like in the year one of the baby's life. Like sometimes you might think that you're late, and I get this with a lot of people. Like, no matter what price they got into Bitcoin, like I met some people that are going into Bitcoin like at $100, and they thought they were late to it. And it was like it was only like less than a cent like a few years ago, and now it's like hundreds of dollars. But like, no matter when you get into Bitcoin, you always think you're late. But then the deeper you go, and the more you try and like speak to the average person, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh
Like
yeah.
most people today, they've heard Bitcoin, but then when you tell them like, do you know anything about Bitcoin, or do you accept Bitcoin? And they're like, no, like, let's keep it there, which is crazy. And like,
It's so
so
true. It's so true, and we're like so connected to Bitcoin. Like we're in it. Like Stampseed. We're going to conferences. You're running a podcast. Like
yeah,
we're very close. We're talking to Bitcoiners all day, every day. But once you step out of that circle, you realize that like nobody knows about it. Like I talk to my friends, and they don't know who Michael Saylor is. They don't know who Jack
yeah,
Mallers is. I talk to people that say, "Oh, what is Bitcoin at? Like 10,000?" So I'm like, "No,
same, yeah,
it's at 60,000. Oh wow, oh my god!" And then the conversation ends there. They just don't understand it, and it's kind of crazy. And it does make you feel okay that if this thing's going where I think it's going, then yeah. I mean, anyone that's in today is early enough compared to that. But it's shocking to just get the reactions from people that are just everyone in my life. There's really nobody I know, unless someone has extremely good OPSEX and they're completely anon. Maybe they do, but I really don't think that's the case. And it's just that's kind of how it is here in the States. I feel like you have your pockets. Of course, there's Bitcoin this year, but like condensed in one area, that just it's kind of like
mm,
spread out. And we're just talking to people who are more high time preference. They want everything now. They want their
yeah.
Netflix. They want their DoorDash. They
They
want
want the latest iPhone.
Yeah, they want the late exactly. They want all that shit. Everyone has such a shitcoin mindset here in the States. Like, what's the next thing? They're on TikTok all day long, going to Starbucks, loading up on shit and
How
spending
much
all
is
their money
Starbucks
on it.
nowadays? $10, a cup of coffee, right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it could be about that much. They're asking people for tips now too. They're actually
Oh wow.
yeah, and I know tipping's not too crazy in like Europe, right? But in
Yeah,
US
yeah.
US it's big, but like who you're not tipping somebody to get your coffee. Like it's just crazy that these people are so high time purpose they can't even make their own coffee. Like just make your own coffee. Like I do it every day and it comes out 10
Same.
times better, right? But
And it's
yeah,
part of the experience, just like stamping the seed, grinding your beans, pressing it in, putting it. It's all part of the experience.
yeah, no, maybe there's some sort of collaboration we could do with a coffee company and like crush some coffee beans for some espresso. But yeah, no, people are just like, like for me, even before Bitcoin, like I always knew something else was in control of the money. Like I knew that, I felt the president wasn't the real one running the country. I just felt that the
Yeah.
game was rigged in some way, shape, or form. Like people might be like, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," and then the conspiracies come true, and then they don't say anything to you. But like so many people are under the spell that they're getting from social media or from mass media, where they haven't even like kind of like when you orange for yourself, you kind of like you see the truth in a way. But like
Mm.
like you can see the truth before Bitcoin. Like you could if you understand that the cards are stacked against you. You're playing in a rig game, with fiat. The politicians all lie. Like if you can truly see past that and kind of look past the curtain and know that a lot of these people are liars and they're just not looking out for your best interests. There's people who think that like the president's trying to do right by them. These are nice people. Bankers are holding your money and they're doing good things with it. They don't even know what fractional reserve banking is. Like most people have no
Yeah.
idea what this stuff is, and they're just under this complete spell that they're not even like ready. Like if you told them what Bitcoin was, like it wouldn't be like something like, oh wow, that solves this problem. They're still kind of like under that sort of spell, and it's like they have to get through
Why do
that.
I need that when I have my dollars, kind of
Yeah,
response?
like oh, like that's why Bitcoin's for criminals. It's the same. Those are the same people that are telling them that Bitcoin's for criminals. That it's something that is tied to drug money, money laundering, this and that, and it's just a complete lie. And these people hear it once, and then it sticks with them, and it just become
Mm.
like parrots, like Bitcoins are criminals, and that's like all they say. And that's as far as they look, and they group it with crypto. Bitcoin's crypto, crypto's Bitcoin. They all look at it as one same thing. And then you factor in that these people are lazy; they're not going to actually take the time to study it, and there's nowhere to go to kind of learn this stuff quick. You have to put your hours in. You have to read,
Yeah.
you have to listen, you have to follow, you have to do these things, and you can't get distracted by the shiny lure of the next crypto that is going to 10x. And these people are just kind of I don't know, like most people think just that aren't in Bitcoin just don't seem like they're even ready for the conversation yet. You kind of have to start slow. And for me, it's like we're kind of at the end of it with stamp seed, right? We're the
Mm.
final step for a lot of people, stamping your seed into metal. So it's like buy Bitcoin, get a hammer, stamp your password for your Bitcoin into metal, and you can't tell people that. You got to kind of slowly get them in. But it's just interesting. I just don't know, like if the masses are under the spell, like what's going to get them out of it, right? What's going to get people
Mm.
like ready to fully understand what Bitcoin is, or do they kind of see past that curtain by getting into Bitcoin? I don't, I'm sure some people can, but with my journey is I kind of like knew what the central bank was, knew what the Federal Reserve was before I was even into Bitcoin. Like I kind of got
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole in 2015, and then when Bitcoin came along, it was like, wow, there's something
There's
to
a
solve
solution.
this problem exactly. And for people that are still under that spell, like I don't know how they're going to kind of get to that solution. Maybe it is by studying Bitcoin. I don't know.
Well, I think like one thing that could propel both Bitcoin adoption and price is the money printer. Because the more the money printer prints, the higher the inflation goes, and the more people start realizing, like this money is like melting away, like everything is getting more expensive. Like I can't save, forget saving. I can't even like afford things. Like things are getting out of control. How do I fix that? Like I hope people ask that question. Perhaps that might be totally different, and people are just like a hamster in a wheel, just like whatever. Like I'll get an extra job, I'll do this, I'll do that, without thinking it. But in some countries, that are going through hyperinflation, the Argentinas of the world, the Turkeys of the world, Latin America, where like money is literally just like melting away. Those people in not all cases are going to Bitcoin, but they're going like to USDT. They're going to other like digital assets where they're like, we're leaving this whole legacy system behind, and this is the way to preserve whatever we have left and kind of start saving for the future. I think this is one catalyst that will kind of push, because if we think about it, like if there would be no inflation and prices would be stagnant, they're kind of it would be really hard to sell Bitcoin. But like, to me, my easiest way to kind of like get people interested in a topic, I started off by saying, like, do you like losing money every month? And they're like, of course not. Like, and I go, well, why don't you do something about it? And they go, well, what can I do? It's out of my control. I go, no, you control where you put your money. You can have it in a savings account and be getting the 1, 2, 3, 5% annual return, or you can put into Bitcoin and you're getting, forget the 3, 4, 5%. If you're looking low time preference 4 years, you're going to be getting like tens, if not hundreds of X's. And then they're like, but how does that work? So I tried to kind of play off that inflation card to get them interested into it, because, at the end of the day, people need to shift their minds from living from today to tomorrow to preserving their wealth, and how people used to think back in the day. Like our parents, working their lives, they weren't thinking about how am I going to survive by tomorrow. They were thinking, when can we build that next big house? When can we, what are we going to leave down to our children? Today's state of things, there's forget leaving things down to children. Like, how are we going to like make meets end? And I think in hard times, hard decisions need to be done, and hopefully people take the right decision. But who are we to tell them what to do? They need to come to that realization, and the only thing we can do is try and plant that seed. I like giving the term orange seeding than orange pilling, because it's not just a matter of drinking a pill and boom, you're out of it. You're down the rabbit hole. It's about planting the seed and watering, doing your reading, doing your listening, doing your watching, speaking to people to really ingrain it, because it's really hard to once you become a Bitcoin maxi, it's not like you read the Bitcoin standard and bam, everything's different. Like, you need to spend a lot of time, and as you've experienced, James, and everybody else on the podcast, like, it takes years. Like, for me personally, it took 3 years to really kind of have that aha moment where it's like, forget all the crypto. Bitcoin's truly the only unconfiscatable, pure, sound money that there is. So it just takes time, and people in today's world, as you said, like, they're lazy. They don't want to put in the work. It's just sitting on the couch, flicking TikTok, Instagrams. It's a rare occasion where someone goes and buys a book on Amazon and sits down in the evening to read a book. Personally, I do that every evening and I love it. But most people don't. And it's just a shame, because you have this golden ticket to get out of this shithole of a world that we have constructed, yet you ignore it. And it's instead, let's put some, Netflix and chill and whatever.
Yeah.
Another day is just another day.
No, man, well said. And it's the distractions, right? And people are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're distracted, and they're kept comfortably numb with all this technology that's just kind of working against them and melting their mind away, when they could be
sucking the creativity out of it.
Right. Like, you could be spending that time studying and understanding what Bitcoin is. And for a lot of those people, like the way you kind of explained, you could orange people, taking that inflation angle, even explaining what fractional reserve banking is. And, everyone just feels so comfortable. They feel like, in the States, it's not going to happen here. The dollar's not going to become hyperinflated here. Like, we're safe. We'll listen to what you say. We'll comply with whatever you say. Just keep us safe. There's a lot of that sort of mentality here, but there's more and more people who are getting into it, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, my friends are starting to ask more questions. They're getting curious because they see how I'm into Bitcoin. They want to know more about it. I started mining Bitcoin. They say, that's interesting. Teach me more about that. Let's go out and talk about it. And it's, there's a long path for them to go down, but like, for them and for anyone else looking to get into it or curious, it's all about taking that first step. Like, you have to take your first step, and you have to be committed. And maybe that's like buying a small amount of Bitcoin and just holding it. And then doing the same thing every week and not looking to trade it, and changing, like, from where my journey was, from a high time preference to a low time preference person, where once you're holding it and that the goalposts aren't going to be moved, that money is hard. That we're not going to print more or mine more Bitcoin that is above the supply cap. It's a fixed schedule. You feel more comfortable with saving for the future and thinking long term. You become a better person for it, instead of sitting on your couch ordering DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, wasting all that money in the service fees and the tips for a seed oil filled shit. You could be eating healthier, because now you're eating healthier, you're saving money. You're saving money, you're buying more Bitcoin. You're eating healthier, you're going to be able to enjoy that Bitcoin when it comes to fruition. And
beautiful cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're thinking long term, you're thinking better. Like, I was that person that was a short term sort of thinker, where it was day to day. Survive the day, get through the day, do it again the next day. Maybe things will get better. and that's a terrible way to live. It's stressful. You're not fully enjoying and maximizing your life. You're not becoming self-actualized. But when you have something like Bitcoin, you can harness your energy and effort into, and it's not going to, erode away. You kind of think about the future. Like, well, every day I'm thinking about, where I'm going to be 10, 20, 30 years from now, what that situation is going to be. And knowing that Bitcoin is kind of there as that, I don't know, like the, what I'm anchored into, and I keep
Yeah.
they keep growing on top of it. It's a great feeling, and it's something more people once they take that first step. I think that's kind of all it takes. But people are going to go through that similar path where they get tempted to sell it. The price moves because it's volatile. They want to sell it, but it's just a matter of really wanting to take that first step and be committed. And the best we could do is talk to our friends and family about it and kind of get them into it, and then hope that kind of has an effect where they're doing the same thing. And then you have the people like in something like Venezuela, right, where they're hyperinflated. They're like they have no other choice almost. Like these people are kind of like on this crash course to be like, okay, there's no other options. I'm getting a terrible exchange rate on the money I have, or I need a wheelbarrow worth of fiat to buy common groceries. They almost have no other choice. Where Bitcoin is like this life preserver that's thrown into the water where they're sinking, and you're in, right. You're into Bitcoin, but like you're at least you're being saved by it, and you have it's there for you. But it's if that's coming around the corner here in the U.S., however long if it does, it's good to be in earlier. Right. And for anyone who doesn't want to be in that situation, get your Bitcoin now, put it into self custody, and, hold it. Just hold.
Hold it all the way. And, to add to that, I think kind of Bitcoin teaches you discipline, which I think everybody in the world needs a little bit more discipline. And as you mentioned, it changes your way of thinking from the food that you intake, the exercise. Like I'm still yet to meet an unhappy Bitcoiner. James, have you met any Bitcoiner that's super depressed or sad?
Dude,
I'm yet to
no.
meet one. Right?
Honestly, I go to a lot of these conferences. I see a lot of people in person. The happiest group of people that I've known that just they're the most free people that there are. They're not living
Yeah.
for anyone else. They're not following anyone else's
There's no
rules.
jealousy. Ooh, that guy's got more Bitcoin than me.
No,
How do I get that Bitcoin?
it
It's
just
pure.
it doesn't exist in this space. You just have the happiest people, and that's I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess why that's the case is because now you have something that's honest. Bitcoin is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not truthful with Bitcoin, it's not going to work out for you. But it's just people eat healthy, they're in shape, and they're extremely happy, and they're learning. Like for me personally, like I stopped reading books once school was over. It's like fuck that. I don't want to read anything. Like I don't have time. Like Netflix is cool. I'll watch that and I'll just kind of fry my brain out on the couch. But Bitcoin got me back into reading again to the point where I'm reading more than I ever have. Like it's kind of like almost impossible to keep up with the list of things that I want to kind of consume. But it's good. It makes you a better person. Like to be able to sit there and you have to want to learn about something. You have to want to make it part of your life and fully understand it. And it's just if more people were into it, the world would be, as corny as it sounds, a much better place. And it's just where I look at where I was, 10 years ago, a totally different person from where I am. That kind of Bitcoin is something that I think is attributed to that.
No, for sure. And imagine the next 10 years and beyond, James. It's just as you become like deeper down the rabbit hole, it humbles you. And as the saying goes, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And the more you spend time in it, it just makes you happier and appreciate every moment, And one thing, what I love about Bitcoin, the longer you are in it, you can dedicate more time to what you really love and what's meaningful to you. I believe I discussed this with Eric Casson a few months ago when he was on the pod. He said he's met, he's got a lot of friends that got into Bitcoin like a decade ago, and today they're doing whatever they want to do in life. It's not none of this like rat race. What can I go and like truly enjoying time? So, people that are looking at Bitcoin today, may it be at 60K, 50K, 70K, whatever the case may be, buying some today and holding it for the next 5-10 years, you're going to be in a much, much more comfortable position, and you could leave your boring, 9 to 5 job and focus on what you love. May that be being an artist, being a musician, just doing what you want to do, not to sell it, but just to give something back to the world. And I really try to make this world a little bit better than what I came to it. And Bitcoin is that solution for how you can give back and make the world a better place. And that's what I'm doing through this podcast. Like I launched it last July in a way to show people that, through storytelling, which I think is one of the most impactful ways to kind of get people to switch and really grasp onto a topic, because everybody relates and everybody likes a good story, to realize, that it's not about being lucky. Oh, I should have bought Bitcoin for $2 back in 2010. It's, people have got in 5 years ago, 2 years ago. There's some guests that got in like 2 years ago and they're already like their lives has changed forever. It's never too late to make a change, but you are the one who needs to make that choice and take that step forward. And as hard as it can be, you will never regret it. And, the more guests I have, the more kind of stamp of approval and kind of examples and use cases of people taking that leap and living the best lives they could have had. And we're only getting started. As we said, we're still yet super early. Go wherever you live to your main street and ask people about Bitcoin. They'll be looking at you like an alien, but that's okay. At least you have a step through the door. And there's still so much work to do through building, through development, through hardware, through education, which I think the biggest one is education. And that's something I want to dedicate more time as I go deeper down my journey to really help individuals and SMEs, small to medium sized enterprises, to start, saving Bitcoin, setting up their nodes, really grasping what Bitcoin is. It's not just a ticker on trading view and speculating on the price. Like Bitcoin is true self-possessed wealth, which nobody can take from you, which nobody can censor. So I think that's one thing. I'm not a techie like you are, James, either. But what I love doing is speaking, as you can see, and being social people. And I think education is the right way that I could give back. Same way as you guys are doing an amazing job with the stamp seed, giving people the tool to actually preserve their hard Bitcoin for the generations to come. So I think if everybody just puts in a little bit of work and focuses on what they're passionate about, we can make beautiful things together.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said in the beginning of what you were going into there, like making beautiful things, right? It's something you could do by holding Bitcoin for a long period of time. You're now able to put your energy into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not becoming eroded on you. It's kind of like this cushion for you to do what you really want to do in life and provide something beautiful that other people want that is truly true to who you are. Like there's so many Bitcoin artists that are making amazing things. There's even people who are, creating, special foods that they're making, or, you have the Bitcoin winemaker here in the US, right? And you're able to do something you love, and Bitcoin is giving you the ability to kind of do that versus like, oh, I really love making, wooden ornaments, but I can't do that because, I'm not making enough money yet. And I really need to work a full-time job and a part-time job. And I need to kind of day trade and become an investor and use my time there. And there's just not enough time to do what I really love. Bitcoin frees up that time. And that's the most valuable asset there is. It's only asset, love and time, right? More valuable than Bitcoin. And time is everything. And to be able to have more of that, or be able to use that to do what you truly love, I mean, there's nothing better than that. That's what, if you could do something you love for a living, you're the happiest man on earth. And, if Bitcoin helps you do that, right? And also to me, like with like value of Bitcoin, it's kind of interesting. Like throughout like my whole journey, like I honestly don't even, as crazy it sounds, I don't even care about what the value is anymore, because I understand, right? We understand what it is, and we know kind of how this plays out. And whatever the price is, it's unaffected by the volatility. It doesn't really bother me at all. Bitcoin has kind of given me this new understanding on life, and it's a way to kind of supercharge your way of thinking into long term, thinking. And I almost look at Bitcoin as collecting it. Like I'm just getting as many as I can, and it's not going to be any more than 21 million or less than that that's available now. But it's kind of like I gamified it to myself at this point, and I don't care what the value is because I'm not planning on selling anytime soon. But if the value happens to spike in the near future, I'll be able to have more time to do what I love. But to be honest with you.
Or if the price goes the opposite way, it's even better. Like I personally get super happy. Like when we
Yeah,
had the dump to 50K, I was like, "Ooh, more sats in the vault coming in this
right.
month." You know, like
Exactly.
it's nothing to be scared of.
I was,
Should be happy moment.
yeah, I remember I was in the middle of watching the season finale of House of Dragon, and my buddy
Mm.
texts me. He's like, "What's going on with Bitcoin?" Because my friends do that; they're not in it, but they like to tell me when it's down because they're probably on the sidelines. And I'm like, "Whoa!" I was like, "This is great. I love this." Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, "I'm buying more. You should actually get into it now too." And I think I bought it with like a four in front of the number at one point. I was like, "Wow, I didn't think I'd see this day again." So it kind of ruined my viewing of the season finale, but. I was happy the price went down. And, in my days of being an amateur sort of day trader or wannabe day trader, which is even better,
Mm.
I hated when the price went down. It drove me crazy. I was glued to my phone and I was, selling on the way down. Now it's great. Let it go
Buying
to,
on the
let
way
it go
down.
to, yeah, let it go to zero. Shake out any of the people who are unsure and keep everyone with conviction and give me a lower average price. I'll take that any day.
No, for sure. Well, to us maxis, we only have one price. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. So like Bitcoin's not volatile, fiat's volatile. That's the one that goes up and down. Like one Bitcoin's always going to be one Bitcoin. And everything on a Bitcoin standard gets cheaper with time, and if you don't believe me, try it out for yourself. Like I'll give you a personal example. I recently moved earlier in the year in April. Actually, I left Europe. I'm in the hated nation. Well, geopolitically, I live in Russia now, and it wasn't an easy thing to move here. But when I moved here, my moving cost was close to $10,000, which like when my wife saw it, she was like, "Oh my god, like baby, like do you see how much it is?" And I was like, it's a lot. I was like, but keep in mind, we live on a Bitcoin standard. We don't live on a fiat standard. So it's not actually 10K. And then I looked at my UTXOs that I was buying, in 2022, like at the peak of the bear market. It was like cost average was like for those UTXOs was about like $20,000. And then when I was selling it, it was just under 70,000. So actually, it was my cost of moving was less than 3K, and that's just like a pure, truthful story. If you're saving in sats over time, everything gets cheaper. And, Jeff Booth has an amazing book. I don't know if you read it, James, or not, but I'm sure you heard of it, The Price of Tomorrow. It
Right.
explains it that over time, things should be getting cheaper, though in the fiat world, by the more printing and inflation, everything's getting more expensive. But by saving in Bitcoin, and that's what we praise, I'm in the same thought with you, James. I don't spend sats on random things. I don't go out and try and spend on anything. Sometimes I do to try push people to accept it. But I spent, the euros, the dollars, the rubles, whatever. The fiat is kind of just like the get by, and then all savings at the end of the month, they all go into sats and they sit there and they just compound and accumulate over time. So, you should really kind of, I guess I'll give it to you, but my one advice to the listeners is start saving in Bitcoin and don't look at it as, a speculative aspect. Where shall I get in? Where shall I get out? You should be focusing in getting in today, because the best price of getting into Bitcoin was yesterday, but yesterday's gone. So you have today. So buy some today and there is no getting out. Like you only spend it when you need to, but there is no, how many X shall I wait until I get out? And then I tell people, get out into what? Into fiat? Like back into what you escaped. You want to go back? Like it doesn't work that way. And if you hold Bitcoin for many years, you're not going to be thinking about, at what price point should I get out? You could be thinking, oh, maybe at $1 million. Like personally, when Bitcoin hits $1 million, I don't know, is that going to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? But when it hits $1 million, I'm going to get myself a property. That's without a doubt. I'm going to sell a small portion because I want to get off the rent ladder. But definitely, I'm not selling all of it at $1 million. Like there's no way. But yeah, I'll give the mic to you, James. What is your one piece of advice that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I mean, I don't know, there's people who are in Bitcoin who've been in there, OGs, and of course they're going to want to enjoy life a little bit and maybe spend some of it and use it. But like I'm in the same boat as you, where I feel like I'm getting away with someone when I spend my feet on stuff like, yeah, take it, take that dirty fiat. I'm going to keep saving Bitcoin, and there'll be a day where everyone's Bitcoin preferred, and I'm not going to be able to get away with that neat little trick that
Sure.
I can do now, but. A piece of advice for anyone is, if you're kind of on the fence, with Bitcoin or unsure or still kind of, trading cryptos or trying to find whatever the next best asset is, like Bitcoin is savings. It is a way to kind of put your energy into a battery and save it over time. And you can't do that with anything else, and without it getting eroded, without somebody having control over it. So what I would suggest is to buy a little bit of Bitcoin and start to do your homework and study it and understand what you hold. It's going to make you a better person and change the way you look at things. It's going to make you more excited for the future than fearful. And I would just, it's good to just get some, right? Hold it. And once you have a little skin in the game, it's like, okay, now I have this. I need to understand what it is. Some people might take some time to procrastinate, but buy it, study it, hold it, put it in self custody.
Stamp it.
Yes, put it in self custody and stamp your seed into metal and call it a day. And those are it's easy to do if you're a responsible person, and I think you'll be very happy knowing that no one else could touch it, no one else could take it. It's always fun to see, of course, the number go up over time. And once you understand, I think Inventing Bitcoin, that was a great book that helped me understand kind of the inner workings of Bitcoin. And once you truly see how it works,
TikTok next block, there's no one stopping it or censoring it. It's
exactly,
it's out of your control.
Yeah, opt out of the dirty fiat game and inflation of the goalposts constantly being moved. You learn the game and they change the rules once you feel like you've gotten ahead. It's best to just opt out of that completely. And Bitcoin is your fight against that. It's kind of like it's a way to take arms against fiat, the central banks. Like you buying Bitcoin and putting it in self custody is that's a pretty revolutionary act. And the more people that do that, the quicker the world will be a better place, the quicker you'll be able to do the things you love to provide good for the world. And inflation won't keep you kind of running on this hamster wheel where you're just trying to keep up with everything. Eventually prices get lower, just like, Jeff Booth's book, which you mentioned, which, I did read recently. Guy's mind is insane. I mean, I feel like I'm listening to an alien talk when he talks. The guy's so smart. But like inflation's kind of like it's kept in place to just you keep kind of this merry-go-round going, and things should be getting cheaper, but they're not. Things are getting more expensive, and maybe they're made cheaper, or you're being sold things that you don't need. Like automobiles should be cheaper, right? They should be. The price shouldn't be going up, but they're throwing extra things in that you don't need. Heated steering wheels, all these fancy gadgets, but they're making the cars out of plastic. So like these things should all be getting less expensive, but they're not. They can't. The system will kind of break down. It's that whole Keynesian economics that's kind of infiltrated into everyone's minds. But opt out. Like I was saying before, take arms by buying Bitcoin, put it in self custody, get your hammer, stamp your seed in. When you're ready for that, and be excited for the future. Don't be fearful for living day to day.
And sleep like a baby. That was well said, James. When you were saying like be happy and keep it there, I was just picturing in my mind. Do you know the meme with Homer Simpson when he's sleeping like tight in his bed?
Yeah,
that's what you will feel like. Just like knowing that nobody will ever touch your wealth. It's a pretty special feeling because most people don't. Like they're always worried, oh, what if the bank collapses? Oh, like what if I put the cash under my mattress and I get robbed?
Yeah,
it's always this kind of fear in the back of your mind. Whereas with this, it's a whole different state being and mindset.
Yeah, and it's like, awesome. What if my $100 looks like $80 next year because of inflation, and it's just getting eroded away? Yeah. So even without the idea of the bank's going under or someone robbing the bank or stealing from you or whatever, it's just sitting there, you're losing. Savers and losers. So, and what does that make you think? Like, oh, I'm going to put all this effort into life, all this effort into work, and I'm getting nowhere. I'm just like a step behind. Once you have Bitcoin, that energy is being harnessed in something, and it's there. It's not becoming debased, due to someone. There's no one in control of Bitcoin. They could just make more of it. It's completely decentralized, right? So when you know that you could constantly be stacking and stacking, and the stack is just getting bigger, and then your time is becoming more freed up. Maybe that's why Bitcoiners are so happy, right? Why we were trying to figure out before. We don't feel like we're just playing this game in our heads. We're winning, but then we look at the scoreboard and we're down. And why would anyone be happy in that scenario? There's no way out. It's rigged. So
and that's a motivator. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The more you work, the more you see the results of it. the more you want to go out and carry on doing the good deed instead of kind of, as you said, working your back end off, and then you're being left with less money. No wonder people are depressed and taking antidepressant drugs and committing suicide, where that their circumstances that people are put into are playing against them.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than playing a rigged game. It's like playing against
Yeah.
Monopoly and with somebody and they have money under the board and they keep pulling it out and using it. Like you can't win in that scenario, and it's frustrating. It drives you crazy. It makes you want to, punch a wall or break down and cry. And that's kind of
Yeah.
that's what the fiat game is. And you're just working harder, working more. You have less time for yourself. And Bitcoin is your way out of that. And once you start buying that's kind of where it all starts. It's you gotta make that first buy, and you gotta continue to purchase and keep having that stack grow. Because like I always say, I'm collecting Bitcoin. It's I don't plan on spending
Nice.
it.
I like it.
I'm not spending it anytime soon. It's collecting. Like I am trying to gobble up as many sats as possible. Because there's a limited supply. There's only so many you could get, and it's gamified for me at this point. And I have this view that maybe 20, 30 years from now, I start to enjoy the benefits of the Bitcoin, just like I would enjoy the benefits of my retirement or savings. And, hopefully have a family that that those sats could be passed down to. And, I always look at it like, how great would it be to one day have like a child or a grandchild say, thank you for doing this. You bought Bitcoin, when most people didn't want it. And, our life is set up. Imagine if you didn't do that. And that's kind of like why I buy it today. That's the main motivation for me.
Yeah, like beautifully said. So I have two young daughters, but before my daughters, like my cold storage was seen as my pension fund, and then once the kids came in, it was kind of like their future fund. And my oldest one, she's 4, and she already grasped Bitcoin. She comes in, she talks to me about Bitcoin, this, that. So they'll be getting their pocket money in sats. And then in 18 years, well, not 18, now it's already 14 years. There's time flying. In 14 years' time, when she needs to go and do things in the world, hopefully she'll be able to start whatever business, do whatever she wants to do, because I'm not going to push her down the hole through the university route and everything. No, like forget it. Do what you want to do, and hopefully that's why I'm working 2 daytime jobs, to stack as hard as I can, so that the future generations can really, as you said, be cherishful and be appreciative of the right decisions that we did today, instead of just gambling it all away and being selfish, but really, leaving a legacy behind for our next generations. I think that's super powerful advice. So I think we'll definitely leave this world a better place than we entered it.
That's
But
the
James,
game, man. Well said.
it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm really happy that we managed to make this happen. It's definitely not the last time you'll be in the show, that's for sure, my friend, because our journeys are only getting started. And as I tell all my guests, you are always welcome to come back on if there's anything you wanna talk about or any point you want to come. I'm one message away, but generally, even if you don't message me, I'll definitely be inviting you back in the future, because I'm not stopping this pod anytime soon. I want to get as many like new stories out there, but as we progress, and I've only started my second year now recently, so my first year pod anniversary was 29th of July, so I'm already officially in year 2. Later in the year, I'll be getting some guests back, and as we progress, I would love to have people come back, because our stories just carry on, and the Bitcoin scene always changes, so there's always going to be new things to discuss and have a chat about. But thanks so much again for taking the time to come on. It's been a blast.
No, thanks for having me, man, and keep crushing it. I love listening to this pod, hearing everyone's story. It's a totally different vibe than what else is out there. The kind of the same Bitcoin stuff that everyone's regurgitating, or there's highly technical.
When moon, right? And chart talk.
Right. No, this is a great thing to hear people's stories. You get real, true stories, and I'd love to come back on, in the future at some point when the story maybe changed a little bit, right? Have something new to say, and maybe from a stamp seat point, there's some new things, and maybe just life in general, new things have happened, and we'll see where we're at on this Bitcoin journey, my man.
For sure. And I guess the last thing, where can we send our listeners to connect and learn more about all the great stuff that you're doing, James? What's the best place?
Yeah, so X is probably the best place to reach us. You go to the website, stampseed.com, check out the website, and you can reach us on X. My handle is hammerseed21. The stamp seed handle is stamp_seed, and give us a reach out to us on there if you have any questions or just want to say hi.
We will do. We'll put all the links in the show notes, and later on, once you join onto the Nostrich world,
Yeah.
you'll be able to reach out to them
Yeah,
there as
I'll
well.
give you my Noster public key, and maybe Stamseed will have something for you to store your private key for Noster on the next time
Nice,
around. I think that's something we're working on. So yeah,
awesome. Well, we got to keep some of that juicy content for the next one.
sounds good, man.
Awesome. Speak to you soon, James.
All right, talk later. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, I would highly appreciate it if you could boost, rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. It would greatly help us spread these incredible stories and the message of Bitcoin freedom. Also, feel free to reach out to me and follow our social media accounts on X, Noster, YouTube, TikTok. I appreciate all of your support and make sure to tune in next Thursday for the next episode. Thanks for listening, and remember to stack sats and stay humble.